Questions? Please use the microphone. Thank you.
Of every press conference, you know you're going to be first. Go ahead.
I'm curious if this ensures that Johnny Steele will always now come on in the 85 minutes to do this.
Yeah, it's odd, I guess, that somebody comes on and scores twice, so maybe now he'll be the super sub. No, I know that Johnny is going to want more minutes going forward, and if he keeps contributing in that fashion, then he'll get more consideration. So really pleased with his calmness on the ball to strike that and make sure it caught the frame and where he wanted it to. A lot of other players would hash at that and wouldn't end up on the frame. So pleased with his contribution, pleased with the work by the entire group tonight.
Jason, just wondering what you thought your club did well and maybe not so well tonight.
I thought it was a pretty bright beginning. We stressed over the past couple of days, and we continue to stress for the past couple of weeks that we want better starts. So obviously I have to be pleased that we scored in the first 15 minutes. Pleased with, I think, some of the versatility we're beginning to show in some of our attacks, getting the right numbers forward, getting some players involved and into the box, midfielders with scoring opportunities is always nice. Displeased probably a little bit. I think tactically maybe we didn't handle that game quite the right way. For stretches in the second half, I think we're probably a little more interested in scoring the third goal than we are in making sure that, more interested in that than we are in making sure that they don't score one to level, because we got ourselves really, really stretched out for chunks of that second half. I think that's probably covers it.
How did fatigue play into this? You had a lot of guys go in their third match in 8 days.
Yeah, we decided to not rotate this week, and we typically do quite a bit of rotation when we're in these circumstances. But something about the group and the spirit, and I knew the disappointment of losing 2 games in a row last week. It was important that we kind of keep the same guys out there. And I think they handled it pretty well. Looking around in the second half, we get to about minute 70, and typically I'm making subs, and I'm just thinking that we're handling business and doing well, and not too many of the guys looked too fatigued to me, so wanted to keep going with it the same. Now, you walk in the locker room and you got some guys that are dragging pretty hard and tired, and they should be. They gave everything they had.
Jason, talk about the response. 3 times your level and 3 times you guys go up 1. And what that means. What do you think about that in terms of the team's mentality and being able to do that?
Yeah, it's very, very important, and I think it's a sign of maturity and self-belief. A group has a belief about themselves, and I think that they feel that they can continue forward. And it's also something that I think we can build on going forward. That we know that 1 step, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, we can still take the next step forward. So I think it's important, and it's another sign of where we're at as a team.
Jason, if this game had ended 5 minutes earlier, how would you have felt about it, performance-wise?
I would have been mad that the referee called it 5 minutes short. That's an odd question.
You know what I mean. If Johnny hadn't had the opportunity to hit that.
Yeah, I think, when you get to the dying moments of the match, oftentimes you think about kind of how you feel about how things played out. I think I still would have been pleased, honestly, because I think the performance was pretty darn good, and we had a ton of scoring chances. Again, on a different night, I think that we win that game handily. I think on the other side of that, honest truth is that we could have lost the game because we took a ton of risks at the end there with throwing Will forward like crazy. Plata got in twice on us into the left channel of the field, and if he scores one of those, we're probably really disappointed, and maybe I'm banging my head against this wall behind me here for taking so many risks, but fortune favors the bold, I guess. And when we're at home, we know that we go for 3 points. Nothing less is acceptable.
So those risks, you were pushing for those risks?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It wasn't good enough for me to draw it home, and it never will be.
Jason, your thoughts on Toronto? They seem pretty good for a 07 and 0 team.
I tell you what, I've watched these guys play the last couple of matches, and I can't really put it together. They have good players. They're making good attacking movements. They have plenty of goal-scoring chances. They've scored some good goals. So it's just one of those things. I think it's odd, and now it's obviously becomes a mental thing, and it's a question of whether the group can stay together. Because I think that they have a pretty good group.
One of those players I think that played the last 3 matches was Javier Morales, and he showed a little bit of that magic on that final goal. Talk about maybe that and maybe where he stands to the quote old Javi, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because as the match wore on, I thought he was getting better and better and better. At the beginning of the game, he lost a lot of balls that he doesn't typically lose again. But I think the confidence kept coming and coming and coming. And if you ask him, I'm pretty sure he'll tell you, I just want to play. And I think that's where we're at right now, is that Javier needs to play to get his form back. And so I think we're in a really good place with him right now because he's a very hungry player. Hasn't played many games in the last year, or over a year now, I think. And I think he feels that he has something to prove. And when he feels that way, that means really good things for Real Salt Lake.
As a player and a coach, what does a dramatic win like this mean at the tail end of 1 point in 3 games leading into it?
It's big time, because now we get a full week to train the guys, and we haven't had that in a very long time. We don't even have a reserve game to mess things up. So, strike that.
We know what you
No,
mean.
I mean, there's a lot of detail behind that quote. No, I feel really good now. I feel good that you can walk into the next week with some confidence, and you feel like you have some momentum. And it sets up a good opportunity for us to be a little bit critical of our group, because we'll need to be. Over the past couple of games, we've made some mistakes that we don't typically make. And we need to make sure that all the guys understand what those mistakes are so that we can continue to improve.
Anything else?
Yeah, Jason, did Nat sit just for rest, or was he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just a clean rotation with the center backs. All of them played 2 out of 3, and we're just in a good place with our center backs. We have 3 very much starting caliber center backs, typical as we have had in the past with our outside backs. And so we'll probably continue to rotate them just so we can keep everybody fresh.
Anything else? Okay. All right.